Welcome to the Quest for Wisdom podcast, where we search for nuggets of wisdom from the lives of some truly amazing people. Today's guest is the wonderful Jona. Jona is a human rights activist, influencer, and works with women in need, prostitutes, and refugees. Jona, welcome to the podcast. How does it make you feel to be here?
Thank you so much for the invitation. It feels amazing to be here. I can't wait what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so I sent you the invitation a while back, and we've been waiting for this moment to do it in person for a while.
Yeah, it's been months.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I still have your invitation at home. I have it on my desk, actually. It's so beautiful.
Oh, thanks. That's, to be honest, sending the invitations is probably my favourite part of the whole thing.
I already thought so. You put so much effort in it.
It's amazing. I like to bring it back to the old times with a wax stamp and a letter. So Jona, the reason that I've brought you here is because you are a big voice on Instagram and TikTok, and I know that you work a lot with the things we mentioned before. You work a lot with women in need, basically, and refugees. So do you want to tell us a bit about the work you're doing at the moment?
Yes.
I know you've started a new, working for a new, is it a charity?
Yes, it's like a charity. It's like an organization. I don't know how you call it, like Ehrenamtsarbeit in English. It's like voluntarily. It goes like basically like NGO. And it's like the thing that I started just recently is to help women get out of prostitution. It's like we still haven't started yet because we're still trying to get on our feet. We're still trying to contact politicians, for example, which is way harder than we thought at the beginning, because they still try to remain the concept of prostitution. We just had our elections in Germany. I don't know if you know, but the Conservative Party won. Which could be a bit better for us in some sectors, because it's actually the leftist party in Germany who doesn't want to hear about it, actually, which is weird, in my opinion. There are still a lot of stereotypes around prostitution. For example, that a lot of women do it like on their own terms, and that they want to do this job, and that they're self-empowered. And you hear this also a lot in mainstream feminism and in mainstream media, that it's a job that is self-empowering, which is absolute bullshit if you ask me. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We're still trying to get on our feet, still trying to contact other organizations, to work together with them, to raise our voices. So we're still in the beginnings. And the other stuff I do, which is like the women's shelter. I worked in a women's shelter from 2015 till 2016, 17. It was hard. It was a hard watch. You experience a lot of stories that you wouldn't hear on a daily basis. I also worked in a refugee shelter, or I still do, like till this day, from 2015. Yeah, where should I start? What do you want to hear about?
Well, I have a couple of questions first, like on the things that you've said. So first of all, like the point that you've mentioned about the feminist mainstream saying that prostitution is empowering and all of those things, because I remember one post that I saw of yours that stuck out to me, and I found it surprising, but then I thought about it more and it made a lot of sense. Was you posted something along the lines of, if you watch porn, you are involved in the subjugation of women, something along those lines.
Yes.
Which I found surprising, because I know that you're strong in the feminist movement.
Yes.
And those views seem to be opposing to me.
Yes, well, that's what I said. It's mainstream feminism. Feminism has a lot of branches. You have like this mainstream feminism, the liberal feminism, I would call it, which is like, oh my God, sex work is work, which I don't agree with. I don't think it's work. It's exploitation in my eyes. Then you have other branches which are not as popular, I would say, and one of them is radical feminism. And radical feminism thematizes even stuff like that, like prostitution and porn, which isn't feminism. The thing with sex work is or the agenda that is being pushed through is that, for example, if we take the slogan sex work is work. Sex work is an umbrella term. We have porn, we have prostitution, we have OnlyFans. And the problem with umbrella terms is that OnlyFans girls or women who do OnlyFans get to talk for women who are in prostitution. You know what I mean? And then they go on social media and say, oh my God, it's so self-empowering and I earn so much money and it's financial freedom and so on and so on. But on the other end of the spectrum, we have prostitution. We have prostituted women who are not there by their own terms, who are not self-empowered, who got there because of their family or because of the pimps or because of the boyfriends who were pimps and so on. So it's not all, I don't know how to put it in words, but yeah, it's liberal, white, privileged women, feminists who get to talk for less privileged women. You know what I mean? And that is my issue with it. And there are branches of feminism, for example, radical feminism, who oppose this view. And I try to support it. So yeah, it's not just the mainstream feminism, but I'm trying to show people, hey, here you can still stay in the spectrum of feminism, but still oppose these things who are actually exploiting women on the other end of the world.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I can totally understand those points. So what would you say to the people? Because I can totally understand, for example, it seems like you don't like the term sex work, for example,
Yes.
because that, like you say, puts everything into the same category.
Exactly, but also it implies that it's work. If it's work, why are we not advertising it in school to little girls? You know what I mean? So I have a problem with this term because these workers, these sex workers, are also not secured in the same way a normal worker is. A normal worker also uses his body to create a product, but then your body is the product, and that is like a big difference to me.
Yeah, I can totally see that. But what would you say, for example, what would you say directly to, let's put strippers, OnlyFans people and sugar babies?
Yeah.
Like if we put them in a category as of sex workers,
Yes.
what would you say to those people? Are you against that type of work in general?
I am, yes. I am actually, because it's not helping patriarchy, is it? Because people always say, yeah, but it's lonely men. It's actually not. If you look at the statistics, it's actually married men. So, and in the end of the day, you're actually helping them. You're creating a space for them to keep doing this. You know what I mean? So I'm not a fan of that either.
Yeah, because one of the things I've been thinking of recently regarding that particular, like obviously the rise of OnlyFans recently is huge. Like,
yeah,
and
it's
happened,
digitalized prostitution.
it's happened pretty quickly
Yeah.
in the past, like, I don't know, 5 years or something, that it's become really popular. Obviously, sugar babies and things have been around for ages, but sugar babies are prostitutes. It's
Yeah.
just a fancy way of saying prostitute.
Exactly. No, I totally agree.
But the whole thing, I suppose, like you say, is that a sugar baby is typically a privileged person. They've chosen to do it. But the thing I've started thinking more about recently is that type of work is basically the same as drug dealing. You know, like most people agree that drug dealing is bad, and obviously that's against the law. But drug dealers tend to be men on the whole, because obviously it's very high risk for safety, very high risk of criminal prosecution and everything. But ultimately, you're selling, with drug dealing, you're selling a product which will probably hook somebody and make them spend a lot of money.
Exactly.
And that's why most people agree that should be illegal.
Yes.
And prostitution, stripping, for example, because people think, you know, stripping still does have a negative connotation.
Yeah.
But stripping tends to be, the way I see it is, it tends to be more of a female version of selling drugs, where you can make huge amounts of money by basically making people pay you a lot of money.
Exactly, yeah.
And it requires some work. Stripping requires work, of course,
Oh,
and they
yeah,
work long
of course,
hours, and it's
yeah.
difficult,
Yeah.
and sometimes they're not safe. but it's a huge, you're feeding on basically human desire,
Yeah.
which is out of control in most cases because
Yes.
people can't control themselves.
Exactly, but here's the thing. I think in both cases, be it drug dealing or be it prostitution, we should, I mean, because in the end of the day, even if you look at prostitution, even if you look at sugar babies, even if you look at OnlyFans girls, there's a history behind it. You know, you don't just stand up one day and are like, yeah, I want to be a sugar baby, or I want to be a drug dealer. There's certain conditions, there's a certain upbringing that brings you to that point. And I would love to create a system where we don't create a space for these kind of jobs. You know what I mean? Like, I want to create a system where drug dealers are not necessary anymore, and where prostitutes and sugar babies are not necessary anymore. And this comes also along with education and raising awareness.
Do you think that people should have access to legal drugs?
Yes.
How do you differentiate that from, how do you differentiate the need and desire of somebody to purchase drugs which are harmful for them and addictive, and the need for people to purchase content which is ultimately, I would say, damaging? Or, you know, it's not,
Yeah,
we know now it's not good to consume
I think the
porn.
difference is that you're using another human body to satisfy yourself, and in the other case, you're only damaging yourself. And in the most cases, like if you look, for example, the statistics of prostitutions, I live in Germany, I live in a country where prostitution is legal. And still, if you would ask, majority of people think actually that they're there voluntarily, which is not true. There's actually a study that came out, or it's not a study, it was like a guess of the police, because we don't have official numbers yet, but the German police guess that up to 90% are not there voluntarily, and that's the system I'm criticizing.
Yeah, I think it is quite naive for people to think that people want to do that.
Exactly.
You know, like people maybe, like, for example, I don't know if you've seen it, it's called Whistleblower.
No,
and
I haven't
it's
seen
a really
it,
brilliant movie based on a true story.
Yes, I've heard of it, yeah.
I'll explain it for people listening, that basically it's set during the Serbo-Bosnian War, which I think was at the end of the 80s.
Yeah, I was involved in that.
Before you were born.
No.
Was it?
No, it was like when
the
I
end
was...
of the 90s?
Yeah, I was born in 95.
Oh, was it the end of the 90s then?
We fled from this war.
Oh, yeah, because Jona is from Albania.
Kosovo.
She's from Kosovo, which we'll get into in a minute. But in this film, basically, the UN themselves at that time, if you worked for the UN, you had diplomatic immunity,
Yes.
which meant you could not be prosecuted for anything.
Yes.
And this woman she was a police officer in the United States, and they brought over a lot of UN peacekeepers and police from different countries to help peacekeep this war that was going on. And this woman, when she arrived there, she found out that the UN themselves, people high up in the UN, were people trafficking women from, well, I guess Serbia and Bosnia, into mid-Western Europe.
It happens in Ukraine right now as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. And what they were doing to these people was they're saying, oh, you're really pretty, you can come to Europe for a modeling job, blah, blah, blah.
I mean,
come
everything
with
is
us.
better than war.
Yeah, everything is better than war. And these people that come from, you know, their country is at war, and maybe they don't have any opportunities around them, they're like, wow, this is amazing. Someone's offering me €1,000 and a ticket to the Netherlands or something.
Yeah.
And then they take them there, and they take their passports, then they get them addicted to drugs, and then they stick them in in a brothel, basically. And these people have no way of getting out.
Exactly, yeah.
And this woman found all of this out, and she was getting death threats. I think they tried to kill her, but she eventually managed to get it out. But because there was diplomatic immunity, no one was prosecuted. But then sometime shortly after that, they then removed diplomatic immunity from UN workers. So the UN, people working in the UN now don't necessarily have diplomatic immunity.
Yeah.
I think it's only very specific people that get that. And that film, I probably watched that like maybe 8 years ago or something like that. And that really changed my perspective of it all, because, you know, I've been to Amsterdam a couple of times. I've seen the people in the red light district.
Extreme, yeah.
And you see the people stood there in the windows. I've been to Germany a few times, and I've had prostitutes come up to me on the street, and they're very kind of professional.
Yeah.
They say, look, they come up and they say, oh, look, they start talking to you, and you're like, oh, wow, this nice lady's talking to me. And it's all very exciting. And then you realize they're a prostitute, and they say, look, this is the price. And you're like, no, sorry, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But it's all very business oriented. And I think it's easy to think, oh, they're just, you know, business ladies that are doing this. But then after I watched that film, I started to think, wait a minute, how many of these people stood in a window in Amsterdam are there by choice?
Yeah.
Probably not very many. And once you're in, I imagine if you're earning money for someone, they're not going to let you leave easily.
They're not going to let you leave. And a lot of prostitutes also develop the Stockholm syndrome. So that's also another problem which we're facing.
And the people, obviously they're pimps and everything, they know exactly how to play the game.
They know how to manipulate you. And there's also a lot of drugs, of course. Like, these women are never sober. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it is really horrible. And I have been thinking about this whole
But it's
situation
amazing.
more.
It's amazing that you had like this aha moment, because a lot of men don't. Like, even if they get educated, they think it's their right. You know what I mean? And that also brings me back to your question. What's the difference between drugs, someone who consumes drugs, and someone who like just goes after his urge, his sexual urge? I think we have to stop looking or stop thinking of ourselves as animals who can't control ourselves, because we can say, hey, this is right, this is wrong. And also, if somebody takes drugs, it's usually because he or she experienced something very traumatic. Whereas someone who goes to a prostitute just thinks in his head that this is his right. It's like, it's more entitlement. That's what I experienced reading through all the comments of, how do you call it? Johns, right? Someone who goes to a prostitute is a John, right? So yeah, we didn't hack into a forum, but it was like, I don't know what it was called. It was like a thread of Johns, like exchanging opinions. And what you read there is absolutely crazy. Like, how these people think of women in general is scary. And this attitude doesn't stop when they leave this prostitute. They take it out in the world. You know what I mean? So.
And where can somebody find, if they're interested, where can somebody find one of these forums so that they can start to understand?
Oh, it's actually really easy. You can, well, I don't know if it's easy in the UK or in Spain, but it was easy in Germany, because you can just like, what did we do? We just, I think Reddit had even some of them. But then you also go, that's illegal. I don't know if I can mention it. In the darknet, there's a lot of Johns exchanging about it. Yeah,
The darknet's not illegal.
It's not illegal?
No.
I thought it's legal. Why is it called darknet then?
The darknet is the collection of all of the websites which are not indexed by search engines.
Oh, no way. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
So at the time when I first went on it, like 15 years ago or something, when I first found out what it was, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool.
Dark.
But at that time, it said, the statistic I read said that the darknet was 700 times bigger than the normal internet. So there was 700 times more information on the darknet. It's all the stuff that doesn't get indexed. And obviously, there's plenty of normal stuff of just
I guess there are also a lot of conspiracies and stuff like that,
Loads
right?
of stuff like that. But then there is also really horrible things. And obviously you can buy drugs and guns and assassins and all of that. And I had a big good look around it.
Yeah, I've heard you can actually like pay someone to kill someone.
Yeah, at the time, because there was this, when I first went on it, there was this, there was a page that was called like Dark Wiki.
Yeah.
Or so like a Wikipedia, and it gives you links to all the different websites, and loads of them I didn't want to click on because I was like, no way am I clicking on that. Yeah. But it would give you a description of what it was, and it was saying there was one of them which was loads of them in fact which were assassins for hire. And at that time they were saying it was $20,000 to get someone killed.
That's nothing.
Which is nothing. And so you pay half of it up front and half of it at the end. And they have reviews and everything.
What?
But the crazy thing about it was that they don't know who you are and you don't know who they are. So that like the chances of the person hiring getting caught are so low because you don't know each other. You're never connecting with your assassin in person. There's nothing really linking you to them.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Unless the assassin somehow had their computer seized, and then they'd have to go through all that sort of stuff to try and find the communications to you. And if you do it all in the encrypted ways you're supposed to and all this different stuff, then the chance of you ever getting caught for it is crazy. And I was like, then it made me think, how many of these are happening? Like when you see suicides and all of that type of stuff.
So they make it look like it was a suicide, or do they just
sometimes?
Go around
I assume
people?
it's just an accident or a suicide. But you know, if it's if the assassin does not know who the person they're killing is, and they do not know who you are, you know, I'm sure they have their ways of doing it. But in certain places in the world, you could probably kill people quite easily if there's no camera.
Yeah, I mean, especially if that person is poor and doesn't have any relevance.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then that was mental to me. I thought obviously a lot of the assassin sites were probably scams and people pay and then they just get scammed.
Yeah.
But then there were loads of other weird stuff on there. There was the one thing I did click on that was really weird. It was called The Human Experiment. And it was basically saying something like they were trying to continue the experiments that the Nazis were doing on humans, and they were trying to get people for the experiment. So they were paying you to basically kidnap homeless people and then give them to them. But there was hardly any information. It just said that, and there must have been like a contact thing or something.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. Homeless people.
People that no one's going to miss.
Exactly. Oh my God, that is so sad.
That kind of freaked me out. And then I never saw any of it, but I heard people talking about torture rooms and stuff like that, where, you know, you see it in films sometimes. I think they call them red rooms, where there's somebody sat in a chair or whatever, and people are there online on like a little chat room thing, paying money to watch somebody be live tortured.
Oh my God.
And I think apparently there's loads of those on there. But so then, yeah, there's all that type of stuff on it. But then aside from that, there's just loads of junk that you can't really access unless you're specifically trying to access it, because it's just stuff that for some reason's not indexed on Google and Bing and Yahoo and all of those. So that's the darknet in a nutshell.
Wow.
As far as I know, it's not illegal to go on it. It's totally legal.
I didn't know. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know. Do you know the app Telegram?
Yeah.
So there was recently a documentary that came out in Germany. It was about, I forgot the number, was it 30,000, 40,000 or 50,000 people? I don't know, men who gathered in a group, and they were exchanging information about how to get your sister, mother, girlfriend drugged, how to rape them the best way, how to do very evil stuff to them. Yeah, it was a big thing just now recently in Germany. Yeah.
Yeah, Telegram's kind of weird as well, because
It is really weird. Yeah. It wasn't in the beginning though. It just, I feel like over the time it got really weird.
But I always suspected from the beginning that it was run by the authorities. You know, like
really?
I always suspected that, and the same with WhatsApp.
Which authorities?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Some sort of powerful authority.
Okay.
Because Telegram is free.
Yeah.
As I understand.
They're trying to ban it though.
Telegram is free, yet obviously costs a huge amount of money to run.
Yeah.
So who's paying for that?
Yeah.
You know, and it was the same with WhatsApp.
Yeah.
That I heard rumors ages ago that WhatsApp was owned by the CIA, but WhatsApp is free, and that probably costs billions and billions. Now they have like a WhatsApp business and stuff, but in the beginning, I think you paid €1 per year or something to use. I remember paying something like that, but it's basically free for pretty much the whole world. Yeah. And imagine how much that must cost to run, to man, to do all of those things. Where is all that data going? Because they're saying it's encrypted. I don't believe that at all. No way. No way they're having basically all of the conversations of half the world
Yeah.
going backwards and forwards, photos, videos, and that data is not being used for anything.
That's an interesting thought. I've never thought about
It's
that.
like someone's got to pay for it.
With
It probably
Telegram,
costs
what was
millions.
interesting is that it didn't bother people in the beginning, like at least in Germany, it didn't bother people in the beginning where it went against Russia. But now recently it's become more, I wouldn't even say leftist because it's not left at all. It's just that people discuss things like Palestine, or people discuss things like Julian Assange, you know him, and now they suddenly have a problem with it. So that is kind of weird.
What are your thoughts on Julian Assange?
Free him. Yeah.
I don't think that he's done anything wrong.
Yeah, right?
Like that whole thing I thought was really weird, that he was trying to release documents and then suddenly he's on charges for rape or something.
It's crazy,
that come out of
isn't
nowhere,
it?
and he's just I don't know. To be honest, I haven't heard what's happened to him in the past couple of years, but he was just hiding out in one of the embassies for ages.
Yeah.
But I was like, right, okay, so it's like the number one thing, either rape or child porn or whatever, and I'm like, okay, one of those two things that would be so easy to kind of fake on somebody.
Yeah.
Very odd that that's just surfaced now because this person's like an anti-government person.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think brought you onto the anti-prostitution thing?
Actually, working in the women's shelter brought me there because there was this one case, because we obviously take any woman in that is in need, that is looking for shelter, and one of them was a trafficked woman. And I talked to her for very long. She was from Romania, and she also was a minor. And yeah, actually she motivated me to question these things, because like it was a very long time ago, but I was a liberal feminist as well. I was like, sex work is work. Oh. anyway, yeah, that was like my turning point, and she was the reason I started working, or I'm starting to work, or starting to get engaged in this area now.
Okay. And I mean, where do you see your future in this work? Like, what would you like to see happening?
Do you know the Nordic model?
For economy?
No, for prostitution.
No.
It's basically where the prostitutes don't get fined, because in Germany, or not in Germany, in other countries, where it's illegal, they get fined.
Okay.
And the Nordic model says we want to find the Johns, but not the prostitutes.
Okay.
And we're gonna help the prostitutes out of it. We're gonna provide for them. We're gonna help them find a proper job, a proper housing, and get out of it. So that would be like the first stepping stone. The Nordic model isn't perfect as well, but it's like a beginning.
I think that does sound very good. But so I think that Johns get fined in the UK and in the US, probably not in Germany because it's legal.
Do prostitutes get fined?
I'm not sure. I don't know. But I know, like I've seen it in films, for example, and I had a child prostitute on the podcast before. He was a child prostitute in LA, maybe 40 or 50 years ago. But I think that the police were always trying to find the Johns. I think they get fined. I'm not sure. In the UK, I think it's prostitution.
I mean, if it's illegal, they might get fined. Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. I think in the UK, prostitution is legal, but owning a brothel is not legal.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I think, I'll have to double check that, but I think that's it. It's like the actual act of selling sex is not illegal in itself.
Okay, I get it. Mm-hmm.
But you're not allowed to pimp people or have brothels. I don't think, but I suppose it's probably a grey area, because then how would they define what is like a brothel and what is just a place? It's probably difficult to define, because brothels exist all over, and obviously the police would know about them. Yeah. So then it's kind of confusing. So you think it should be, I mean, I know that the Nordic countries, in terms of drugs as well, they have a very rehabilitative
Yeah, I like that.
model.
Yeah.
And I know Portugal is pushing towards that as well, where it's about rehabilitating people who
I mean,
are
they have
using
already, don't they?
Portugal has legalized it, but they put
Yeah.
loads of effort into.
Yes, and it's doing amazing actually. I don't get why other European countries don't just have a look at Portugal, because it's like such a good example of how things could work actually if we made them work that way. They're also like they help people a lot. They legalized it, but you can also like check your drugs, right?
Yeah.
That would be such a great thing.
Yeah, because they have that. That was really common in European festivals where you could do a drug test.
Really? I've
thing.
never seen that before. Where do they do this?
Well, they do it even in England now. They do it in some places.
But that's amazing. I mean,
But that's obviously strange in itself because they're illegal.
obviously.
And
yeah.
so I don't really understand how that works.
Yeah.
Because they have these, I suppose, they're charities.
I could imagine that like the organizers were like, hey, we don't want any scandals on the festival, so that's why they do it. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't want corpses.
Yeah. Because it was bad. Like I remember there was the 2 years that I went to Boomtown in the UK.
To where?
To Boomtown, a festival in the UK.
Oh, I don't know.
I think one person died each year.
No fucking way.
Because I remember
of drugs.
Because of drugs. The second year, I remember they sent around on the advertisement things in the festival saying like beware of ketamine or something. There's a bad batch and someone has died. And in one of the years, someone was found hanging in one of the toilet cubicles.
What?
Which was mental, and that's
Wait,
like a
suicide? What do you mean with hanging?
Hanging. They must have hung themselves somehow in the toilet.
Oh my god.
And yeah, like that's pretty mental.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so, those festivals then get threatened to be shut down
Yeah.
when.
Yeah, that's why they did it.
But then I'm like, I don't understand how it works, whether
Yeah,
they're allowed to or not.
Me neither.
So what are the other type of people that come into the women's shelter?
Yeah, obviously, like not only. Oh, what I wanted to say about human trafficking, because in Germany it's legal. I wanted to add this.
Human trafficking is legal.
No.
Prostitution's legal.
Prostitution is legal. Human trafficking. We ain't there yet. Prostitution is legal. What I wanted to say is that the statistics for human trafficking have skyrocketed ever since we legalized prostitution, which is also like a big indicator of, hey, maybe there's like a connection between these two, and there are still people saying no, there isn't. So.
And when was the legalization?
I can't remember actually. When was it? I would have to Google it. I don't want to lie.
Okay.
I don't know.
In your lifetime, though?
It was in my lifetime, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And so tell us a little bit more about why your family left Kosovo. What was going on there?
Yes. Wait, just to your other question, because I forgot answering that. You asked me what type of other women come to the women's shelter. They come for different reasons, most of them domestic abuse. Yeah. So it's like the first destination where they come after fleeing their husbands. They come there through a crisis hotline, for example. Some of them through referral of the police. Others just walk in directly, so different paths. But yeah, we take them in. We gather their data. We ask them if they are like in danger, what they are fleeing from. Then we help them because some of them also have ongoing legal proceedings, or we started with them together to file for a restraining order, for example. Many of them don't even know how to do it, or don't have like the power, how do you say they don't have like the
will.
No, not the will. energy. They don't have the energy because they've been through traumas, obviously. Some of them take their children with them. Then we also take care of them for their schooling, for example. We contact other services, other social services, counseling, stuff like that. So we help them to get back on their feet, basically. Yeah, and when they're stable enough, then they can leave, and like when they have like a proper housing, proper job, then we leave them, or they leave us. That way.
We leave them.
We leave them. Bye.
So how many people does it hold, the shelter?
It doesn't hold many. Like the one I've been at, it was like, I would have to Google. It was like 40, 50 women there.
But that's pretty big.
That's pretty big, yeah.
And are they in like shared dormitories, or do they have individual rooms?
Wait, let me Google this, because I'm afraid that I'm Googling my women's shelter.
Okay. And who funds it?
Wait.
She's just there Googling. Doesn't want to give out false information.
Yeah, I hate it. I also wanted to Google like when prostitution was. Yes, it was like 30 to up to 50. Yeah.
And are they in individual rooms, or
They can be. Sometimes, like when we didn't have like any capacities, we had to put like more people in a room. Yeah.
And who funds it?
Mostly the what is it called? How do you call Bavaria, for example? It's like the region, yes,
like the regional government.
Yes, exactly. Mostly the regions, but also we work also a lot with donations.
So it's not a government organization, but the government does give it money.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's very good.
Yeah.
So it must have been a pretty huge place then.
I mean, it wasn't a huge place. No, we were housing like up to 50 people, so it wasn't that huge. No, not really.
But it must be kind of like an apartment block.
I mean, it's not an apartment block. It's like a house. It's like a building. It's not like you imagine an apartment block with flats in it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
And so do you, when the women leave, is there like a follow-on procedure? Like, do you hear
yes.
the happy endings from them?
Yes, we often do. Yeah, we stay in contact just to make sure like everything is fine. Sometimes we also do it like on a private basis even. So, yeah.
Because I'd imagine with that type of thing, like you mentioned before, that the Stockholm syndrome,
yes.
And obviously it's extremely difficult for people to leave their whole life behind, and if they've got kids and all that type of thing, it's so hard for people to take that first step, and then it's also so tempting for people to return to that life because it's what they know.
Yes, exactly. It's what they know. It's what they're used to. It's because abuse doesn't only work directly, it also works like by isolating the victim first, so they don't have like any other contact. So yeah, that's a big issue as well, the Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, so what sort of a success rate do you think that you find?
I mean, what do you mean with success rate? Do you like
well,
people...
for example, for the person, if they're leaving a bad situation, I suppose the success would be not returning to that bad situation. And starting a new life, basically.
We also had women who actually eventually went back, yes, but that happens like in a very few cases, and normally it turns out that it wasn't like the right thing to do, and they come back, and so it's always like it always ends up, how do you say? They always end up divorcing him or fleeing that situation. Like, it's very rare. I don't think, like, obviously I can't know because I don't follow each one of them, but most of them don't go back, no.
Well, that's
because
good. So I would say
because
that's
it just
successful.
takes a lot to actually get to the point where you leave that situation. So there's no turning back for most people.
Yeah, because it's just, I know from like people I know personally and things that for some reason humans want to have this desire to return to familiarity,
Yes.
even if that familiarity is terrible.
Yeah, and I understand that. I understand that.
But it's like for the same reason that we'll come on to talking about the refugees as well. And for me, for some reason, I've always had a soft spot for refugees and for homeless people, and especially for refugees, really, because the way I see it is that refugees, nobody really wants to leave the country. No one wants to leave their family, leave their life, leave their country, risk whatever it takes to get to a new place, potentially going over in a boat somewhere, potentially dying, potentially having to walk,
Yeah.
for years. I met a Syrian guy at this sort of hippie commune thing that I stayed at for a little bit, and he'd walked from Syria to Germany.
That's so crazy.
And it took him
Just
2
think about
years.
it.
And he had fought in the Syrian Liberation Army, like the freedom fighter people, basically.
Oh, okay.
And he'd been shot 6 or 7 times, and one of the bullets had been stuck in his arm, and so he'd lost the use of one arm.
No
So like
way.
one of his arms was basically paralyzed and
Yeah.
shriveled.
Yeah.
And he'd walked there, and he was because he was working at this little commune. They take basically anyone in, and the whole point is that you can put your tent there, you can live there, and you have to help them cook and clean and stuff like that, but you can live and stay. But he was so helpful and nice to us and so friendly and lovely. But when you look at someone and you can see they're almost dead behind the eyes, because he'd obviously seen so much horrible stuff and walked for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then when you do all of that and you get to the new place, then everyone hates you anyway.
Yeah.
And I always I feel especially sorry for the ones that come, well, Germany and the UK are basically the same,
Yeah.
but they go all the way there, then everybody hates them,
Yeah.
and they think it's going to be some sort of paradise, when in
Yeah.
reality it's horrible.
It's
like,
horrible, yeah.
the UK and Germany are wet and cold, and these people typically come from warm countries.
Yeah.
And people think that
Especially with the political situation right now.
Yeah, and people think that with, that these people come to,
To live their best lives,
to live their
yeah.
best life, and let's come to the UK and they get given loads of money.
Yeah.
And my friend Jasmine, who I told you about, who runs the refugee camp in Samos, she works getting asylum for people. And she said that when people are asylum seekers, obviously they only get granted asylum if they're actually leaving a war, or some sort of persecution. They have to prove it. But then she said that they get given like a place to live, but it's horrible. And they also get given a tiny amount of money.
The places they live in are absolutely horrible.
And she said they get given a tiny amount of money. Like we're talking, I don't know, £20 a week or something like that. And they're not allowed to work.
Yeah, exactly.
So they have to wait there for 2 or 3 or more years. Sometimes it takes, and they're basically stuck in prison.
Yeah,
because
and they can't move either.
They can't move. They can't do anything. They can't work. They don't have any money to do anything.
Their diplomas don't get recognized.
The diplomas don't get recognized, and they're stuck. And it's not nice at all. No. And everyone hates them.
Yeah.
And they're obviously, a lot of them will have serious trauma and things to deal with, and then they're stuck in this horrible place in a really cold, wet, horrible country where everybody hates them.
Yeah.
And all they're trying to do is not be killed.
Exactly.
Or not have their family killed, or not be taken prisoner, or not that, in places where we bomb.
Yeah.
Like in Syria in 2017, the UK dropped 1,700
Germany
bombs.
as well. Germany is
in 1 year they dropped. That's like 5 a day they dropped on Syria, and we sell the weapons to everybody who bombs them as well.
That's what pisses me off about all the racists in the UK and in Germany and all other countries. Like, okay, you don't want refugees in, But where did you ever, like, I don't know, go to a demonstration where you demonstrated against weapons, for example? Like, why don't you fight the root of the problem? You know what I mean? Because we are bringing the war to these places. I mean, not us directly, but through our taxes as well, actually, yeah.
But then the counter argument to that would be that we are bombing those places because they're trying to kill people like ISIS or Al Qaeda or the Taliban and
Yeah,
stuff
but it's also our governments who installed these terrorist groups.
in the first place.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
We were trying to destabilize these countries to gain something from it. Yeah, for our own profit in most cases. Oil, be it.
then the counter argument to that as well, because I think about this all the time, is the people, for example, the Taliban, ISIS, those extreme groups, they are extreme.
Yeah.
And they do have to be stopped somehow, you know, because even though we might have started them in the first place and, you know, that's obviously terrible, the threat is real when these people are absolutely insane.
Definitely, yeah.
So then it's kind of like, although we are bombing them and we're trying to stop them, how do we stop them without...
The thing is, if I think we actually have the power to stop them. I think we just don't want to. Look at Syria. Assad was, how do you say that? What's the English word of, he got...
thrown out.
Yeah, thrown out. How fast was that? It didn't even take 24 hours. I think the USA Army, they invest so much in the military. I think they would have the power to actually do this. But I think it's in their interest to maintain this chaos in these regions, because it's this chaos. Like, you can actually exploit a country the best way when it's destabilized. So,
yeah, it is very true. And I think one of the other things that got me into it, it's a really interesting book that my friend Jasmine recommended to me. She's the one that runs the refugee camp. And I think you'd have a great talk with her. But it's called Guest Houses for the Wives of ISIS, or something along those lines. Guest Houses for the Widows or the Wives of ISIS.
Oh, okay.
Something along those lines. And basically what it does, it follows the story of, I think, 6 girls from different Islamic countries and how they became radicalized.
Oh, okay.
And why they then decided to go and join ISIS.
Oh, okay. So it was their decision to actually join
Their decision
them.
to
Okay.
join it.
There was actually a German girl who joined them. Crazy story. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a famous British one, Shamima Begum, and she's got a really good... There's a podcast about her, and she was 15 or 16 in the UK, and her friend went over before her, and then she went over, but then she tried to quit because she had a baby and she was having a horrible time, and then she was basically put in one of these refugee camps somewhere, and then they took her British citizenship off her, so she couldn't go back to the UK. And she couldn't go, she was originally Bangladeshi, and they either took that passport, or Bangladesh said they wouldn't have her, or she didn't have the Bangladesh passport. I can't remember, but for some reason she couldn't go back to the UK because she had no citizenship. And she couldn't go to Bangladesh because I think she didn't have a passport. And it was this big human rights scandal because you're not supposed to be able to remove somebody's citizenship if they don't have another citizenship somewhere. So if you remove someone's citizenship, she's then like, I don't know what you'd call it, but kind of like a ghost. She doesn't have any citizenship anywhere, so she can't move anywhere.
So she's stuck there.
So she was stuck there, and I don't know what happened in the end of it, because when they found her there, this reporter found her, and they went to see her, and she was in this horrible, like, basically concentration camp. And they then did an interview for her, but she was obviously so shell-shocked, and at the time she was like 16 or 17, and
So young.
she did this interview, and in the interview she was quite cold, and then they obviously played this footage of her, and she was basically saying that she didn't really care, and all of this type of stuff, and so she didn't she didn't perform very well in this interview, which then got released to the news and everything. And because of that, everybody hated her. But she was in this environment with loads of radical people. So if she'd have come out and been like, yeah, I'm really sorry, I hate ISIS, I want to come back to the UK, she would have been in danger, and her children would have been in danger in this camp, because they're there, they're really really strict people. But there was another girl in...
What happened to her? Sorry.
I don't know like what the end of it is.
God.
But this was quite a long time ago. I don't know if she was allowed back, but I don't think she was allowed back in the UK.
So she's just like stuck there.
I think so. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at it. I don't want to say either way. But at the time I was listening, I don't think there was a resolution. But then one of the other girls in this book, they were from Tunisia or Algeria, and she started wearing the headscarf out of her own choice. Like, her family weren't particularly religious. They were just normal level of religious. And at the time, because of the French occupation of Algeria, Morocco and Tunisia, they got rid of wearing the hijab. And then you weren't allowed to wear it in schools, and they tried to get rid of that sense of identity.
She wanted to be a rebel.
And she wanted to basically be a rebel, she wanted to hide it. And she was saying she started to believe that it was empowering to wear it because you're hiding your sexuality, and people are judging you then not based on your looks but based on who you are, because you're desexualized basically. And so she ended up choosing to do that, and then went on to ISIS because they were selling this dream of an ISIS paradise.
Like, also, and she was like probably brainwashed into thinking, hey, you have to be a rebel because it was the French occupation who brought this. This is not Algerian?
Yeah, it was Algeria or Tunisia.
Yeah, so that's how they brainwashed her probably.
Yeah, exactly.
And it happens a lot that people go from one extreme to another extreme, actually. There's like, it's hard to find like a middle ground, I feel like.
And now I think about it, I'm pretty sure that the girl that was from Germany, I'm pretty sure she's one of the girls in the book, because I think she was Turkish German. Maybe it's a different girl, but there was a girl in it that was Turkish German. And again, her family weren't particularly especially religious or anything.
Was she German? Like, she was by blood?
I think she was a Turkish German.
Okay,
living
Turkish
in Germany.
German.
I think.
Okay, I get it.
If I remember, it's quite a while ago that I read it, but it was the same sort of story that she'd chosen this. It wasn't like her family had radicalized her, and then, she's sent out. She decides to go and join this, and they have a horrible time. And it tells you the story of when they get there, and then you get married to an ISIS fighter, and then that fighter ends up dying, but you're then stuck there as a widow.
Exactly.
So you're just literally stuck in a house and you can't leave, because if you're not married, then no one else is allowed to see you. So you're basically just stuck in these houses, and that's why it's called guest houses of the ISIS widows or something, because they go into these places and they're just stuck there waiting till they get married. And then as soon as they get married, their husband is away anyway, and then they're not allowed out without their husbands to do anything. So they're just sat around.
It's absolutely horrible and sad what is happening to these women, especially also in Afghanistan. Like, it's crazy. Yeah,
like Afghanistan used to be quite a liberal place.
It was so liberal, and it was like, it was not only liberal, but there were also like a lot of Persian culture, a lot of spiritual culture as well. Like, you had a huge Buddha temple as well in Kabul, I think, which was destroyed then obviously by the Taliban. But it's so sad. Do you know the author Khalid? Is it Khalid?
Khalid Massoudi.
Khalid.
No, not Massoudi.
No,
Khalid,
Hosseini.
Hosseini. Yeah,
Have you read? It broke my heart. It broke my heart, because especially now that the Taliban is back, to think of these stories and think that there are women right now in 2025 going through this. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it was really mental, because it just, again, it changed my perspective on why some people choose to do these things. And the Shamima Begum thing, like, I'd recommend you listening to the podcast. I can send you it. It's really good. It's like short episodes, maybe 10 of them or something.
Oh, it's a podcast. I thought it's a book.
the Shamima Begum one in particular,
Yeah.
that's a podcast, and I think there's documentaries about it. But then the other thing I'm talking about is a book, so they're two separate things. But it was just mental the whole time when I'm reading it, and then I was looking at, because I remember it coming out on the news and everybody hating on her. I remember thinking, like, this girl's a teenager. People do stupid stuff, and yeah, she's done an especially stupid thing,
Very stupid.
really stupid thing.
Yeah.
But she's a teenager.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like if that was your daughter or your son or whatever,
Imagine,
you'd be
yeah.
like, please forgive them. You know, like,
I beg your pardon. Yeah,
like,
please.
and people are like, we can't let her back in. She's a terrorist, blah, blah,
That's
blah, and all
so
this. And it's
crazy.
like, the reality is that, yeah, she's gone over to join this thing, but she
Are
was
there people
brainwashed.
actually saying that we shouldn't let them back in?
She wasn't let back in the UK. They decided not to. They took her citizenship, so she could never come back.
It was the UK who took her.
The UK took her citizenship. They removed her British citizenship, and then there was this whole human rights scandal.
It was the ISIS.
No. The UK government took her citizenship off her.
Oh
She
my
was born in the
God,
UK.
That is so
lived-
sad. No, that
She
is
lived
so
there until she was like
sad.
15 or whatever, but she left when she was 15.
Yeah, 15. I mean, think of all the stuff that you've done with 15.
Exactly. And so that, I don't know, that along with the girl choosing to start wearing the headscarf sort of as an identity
Rebellious.
thing, a rebellious sort of identity thing.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you have in countries in France where you're not allowed to wear them in schools, and I don't think you're allowed to wear them in businesses
Yeah.
and things. And then you start to realize, okay, human nature is to rebel anyway, but it's not all like these people are part of all these extreme families, and their extreme families are the ones that are breeding all of this stuff.
Often
And
it's not like that. In many, many cases, it's not like that. Yeah.
because
that's
like we
true.
have the UK and probably Germany as well, and a lot of countries do have a problem with radical religion.
Yeah, definitely.
Radical Islam is the big one at the moment, obviously. But generally, anyone with any sort of extreme view,
Yeah.
extreme left, extreme right, extreme religion,
Yeah.
the word extreme is a signal.
Yeah.
You know, it's an extreme view.
Yeah.
But those extreme people are actually such a tiny, tiny percentage, but they shout the loudest.
Yeah, that's what I was just. Unfortunately, they are the loudest, and that's why it makes always the impression like it's so many of them.
And that's the problem. The main problem, I think, with social media at the moment, and the media in general.
Is that only this extreme percentage is commenting?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because most people are in the middle.
Yeah.
They don't have an opinion of any
Obviously.
strong opinion
Yeah.
of most things.
Yeah.
Most people just want to live their lives.
That's what I always keep in mind when I like try to do videos online and I'm like afraid of getting hate. I'm like, wait, it's actually not that even if I get hate that it's all people who think like that. It's just they are the
Shouting
loudest.
the loudest.
Yeah.
And you know, you see extreme. I see the extreme left and the extreme right as basically the same thing. You know, they're shouting very loudly, but the extreme left wants really more or less the same thing as the extreme right, which is censorship and fascism. That's the way I see it. That might be an unpopular opinion.
I wouldn't agree because I think, I mean, I don't know if I have the same experiences as you have, but the extreme left in Germany, I don't know how it's in the UK or in Spain, actually just wants like affordable housing, affordable schooling and basic human rights. There are some extreme activists, definitely, who go too far, definitely. But we have statistics that actually prove that the extreme right is way more dangerous than the extreme left. I don't know how it's in the UK though.
Well, what you've described there, I wouldn't really call the extreme left. I would call it more just the left.
Okay.
Like the extreme left would be people who want extreme liberalism, but in the sense of it's so extreme that it's actually controlled. So, for
Okay.
example, censorship. You can't say this, you can't do that. If you disagree with me, you're being cancelled.
No, of course, no. That's
to me,
I don't agree with
that's
that.
the extreme
obviously.
left,
yeah.
which is very much the same as the extreme right, which is.
But I've never met like an extreme leftist who says that he wants censorship.
But it's censorship in the sense of cancel culture, for example.
Okay, that's what you mean.
Is very much what I would call extreme left.
Okay.
Because it's, I don't agree with what you're saying, therefore
I get what
you
you're
cannot
saying.
speak.
Okay.
And it's the same thing with the extreme right, where it's like, I don't think that you belong here, therefore you cannot be here.
I thought you were going like with an example by attacks, for example, because in Germany it's like actually the right wing which is doing like most of the attacks and not the left wing. That's why I was confused. But okay, now I get where you're coming from.
Because now I started to see it more of, instead of like a line with left here and right here, it's more like a circle.
Yeah, the thing is,
kind of like
the really sad thing is about this left and right thing is, and you just mentioned it, in the end of the day, both of them actually want the same thing, not in terms of fascism, but in terms of they want
ultimate control.
That's not what I mean. They want the same. They all want affordable housing. They actually all want the same rights. If you look at it, that's why it's actually so. It's actually ridiculous what we fight about and how they fight about stuff which actually has the same root problem in many cases. So that's how it is in Germany, at least.
Yeah,
right
I find it, the whole, anything that tries to separate you one way or another, I think danger. Like when I view it.
Especially right now, I don't know how things are in the UK or in Spain, but especially right now, the two extremes are getting more and more popular. I think it's just because people are getting divided more, also by the media, of course. Media plays a big role, especially now we just talk about refugees. Refugees are being a big topic in Germany right now. Like there's a lot of hate and racism against them. Which also comes through media. Obviously, we don't have, we have actually official numbers who actually prove that it's not a migrant problem, like terrorist attacks. But if still the Conservative Party won, and the second strongest party in Germany is like super right wing, like even more than Donald Trump, you'd say. Yeah,
I have heard that. I don't know much about it, but I've heard that.
Yeah, but so it's really, I don't know, it's not a good mood in Germany right now, to be fair.
No, and to be honest, I think about this pretty much every day, and I try to think, what would I do if I were the ruler of the country? And I cannot think of any solutions for anything.
I think the solution would be to make things more affordable for the working class. Because I think a lot of people are just depressed by work, by the working hours, by, I don't know how it's in the UK, but in Germany, the, inflation is happening, but the
what?
Salary. But the salary didn't get adjusted to the new prices. So I think politicians use this crisis or use migrants to actually distract from the real problems, which are these problems. I often when I go to work, people are like, my work, and I can't see my children, and I don't have any time for this and for that. And then in the end of the day, they're like, fuck migrants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, is this really the issue? Is this really your issue right now? Is it the refugees, or is it just your shitty life?
Yeah, it is a very valid
point. And I
point.
think politicians use this. They use, is it migrants or migrants?
Migrants.
So they use migrants to distract from the real problems. Like you could see it even in the political debates in Germany. All they talked about, it's like the presidential talk in America where they come together before the election and talk about their politics, and they try and convince people why to vote for them. And it was almost just about migrants. And I'm like, what's with 99% of the other problems, like housing? People can't afford living anymore. People don't have any money anymore left in the end of the month. There are mothers who have like 2 or 3 jobs. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's really messed up. And it is true that there's always a scapegoat, someone to blame. And
it's always the same if you look at history. History really repeats itself in that context, because it once was the Jews, for example.
Blacks, Jews, Gypsies,
always,
Muslims.
Yeah. Now it's Muslims. Yeah.
Now it's Muslims, and then it's migrants from Eastern Europe or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's really, really difficult because, like, I know you say affordable housing, but then it's like, how do you do that? And because the economy is so complex and nobody understands it.
But I do think there is a way. 100%. There are political parties who actually have a plan on how to solve these problems. They exist.
Theoretical plans, though.
Yeah, of course. It's always theoretical. It's always theoretical.
But I just think of things like, for example, the optimist in me, which is most of me, if you take basically any topic, let's use migrants, immigration in this case, the optimist and the, let's say, kind person in me would want to say, open borders, let people do whatever they want. But then the pragmatist in me would say, but wait a minute. If you do that...
I get what you mean, because it's really hard to be an optimist in these circumstances, because we've created such a shitty world that we can't just be like, okay, from tomorrow, we're going to live in an utopia.
Yeah.
Because we already fucked up so much, you know what I mean? So I get your point. I have that with myself as well, yeah.
And the thing when I say about if I were the ruler of the country, what would I do? And I do a lot of thought experiments where I'll take, let's say, immigration, or I'll take abortion, or I'll take, something like austerity. And I'll think to myself, okay, if I were to do one of these, what would all the consequences of that be?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
And if I were to do the other one, what would all the consequences of the two of those be? And I love listening to debates where the two sides will argue their points.
Yeah.
And generally at the end of it, I come out of it and I feel like I've learned a lot,
yeah.
but I feel even more confused.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Because I'm like, both people make brilliant points, and logically what they're saying makes total sense.
Yeah.
But it always brings me back to like the left and right wing, left wing, right wing. And I thought about the term wing. We use wing for a bird. A bird can't fly with one wing.
Yeah.
And really, the wings of a bird are not important in terms of the bird's personality and life. It needs those wings to fly, but the important part is the part in the middle, the bird. And I just thought it was a funny word, wing.
Yeah.
And it always makes me think of it like that. And I'm like, if you put yourself on the right wing, you must make a conscious effort to really, really take on board what the left wing is saying. Because otherwise, it's your right hand. We say in English, like, your right hand doesn't know what your left hand's doing.
Okay.
For somebody who's confused, and you use that in business and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have to try to challenge yourself and challenge your thoughts, because we all have our own internal wiring that makes us think in certain ways, our own experiences. And
it's really important to do that. Like, if I think about myself, I've changed my opinions so often in the last years, and I'm probably going to change them again in the future. And I think it's really important to actually reflect on your opinions every now and then.
Yeah, what I try to do now is smash apart my opinions. Anytime I start to believe or
Yes,
opine about
question
something,
that and question that,
I'd
and
smash it apart.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's wise to really have a solid opinion about anything.
Yeah,
You know,
I get what
think
you
it's,
mean. I get what you mean. Yeah.
I see my role more as I've always been a devil's advocate. You know, like someone tells me one thing, I'm like, yeah, but what if this? You know, like playing on the other side. And I suppose that's why I'm sat here doing a podcast, because like I like to hear both sides. Because
I know
people
that you
do
are
make,
like that.
people do make really good points, you know, and
Yeah.
I'm like, my people, I don't vote, for example, because I don't live in the UK
Yeah.
and I don't have any real knowledge of what's going on in Spain.
Yeah.
And I also don't feel like I really deserve or belong to vote here, because I don't really feel like I belong here. You know, so I'm like, why should I vote on the UK when I'm not living there? And why should I vote here when I'm not part of their culture?
I get that, yeah.
And I think even if I were living there, I'm like, how am I supposed to pick
Yeah.
things that I couldn't? I'd be better off just flipping a coin.
Yes,
Like, I'm like, how
that's
can
my
I?
issue. That was my issue in Germany, actually.
I'm like, how
I
can
mean,
I
I
pick
went
this?
to vote, but I went with such a weird feeling in my stomach because I wasn't really happy with neither of it.
Yeah, and I'm like,
I could have just like not go.
yeah, I'm like, you know, and everyone's like, oh, well, but people have fought hard to have this right and it's
Oh,
part of your
come on.
political thing. And I'm like, well,
Yeah, but in the end of the day, I'm also like, will it change anything? I don't know.
like I view my role more as doing this,
Yeah.
talking and discussing
That's
ideas.
it. That's also, you're also contributing to society in some form.
And then maybe at some point I'll become a politician.
Yeah.
But I to be honest, people slag off politicians, but I couldn't think of many jobs I would like to do less. Mm-hmm. It's a horrible job where basically you work really long hours. Half the country hates you.
Yeah.
Everything you do is scrutinized, and you can't really, as one individual, can't really make any change to anything.
Yeah.
Because once you get
That's
in,
what I'm saying. It's just really, really hard to make a change. Yeah.
and I think that what happens for a lot of people is, you know, they're young, bright, politically minded people, and they really want to go in and make a change. They get in and they realize they can't do anything.
Yeah.
And if they want
get
to
frustrated.
they get frustrated. If they want to succeed, they have to basically toe the line and
Yeah.
agree with what their party's doing.
Yeah.
And if they go and try and be an independent, they're probably going to lose
Yeah.
and not have any real power. So it's either like just join in with the others and maybe try and make some changes, but probably not, or leave and
Yeah.
not do it. And I've been listening. There's a really good guy, Rory Stewart, I think his name is. I'm reading his book at the moment. I've listened to him on a few podcasts, but he was a UK politician.
Okay.
And he spent 1 or 2 years walking through Afghanistan and I think Iraq or one of the other countries. He spent 1 or 2 years walking the whole country, met loads of these people, learned some of the languages, and then he was involved in foreign policy and trying to help with charity. He was also involved in Africa, running projects there as like a foreign minister for the UK. And he ended up, the book is telling his memos, his story. I'm only like 10% of the way through it, but he tells of his story into politics, and now he's very much anti-politics, and all of his politician old people kind of hate him. He's hated now because
What's his name?
I think it's Rory Stewart. I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay.
But he's very interesting to listen to, and you know he was just so dissatisfied with the way that everything was run. And he gives the example for it. They were in, I believe, Kenya, maybe not Kenya, but one of the African countries, and he was tasked with finding out why women weren't going to school as much as they could have.
Okay.
And they came up with the idea that they weren't going to school because there weren't adequate sanitation places for the women. So when they had their periods, they didn't want to go because there was nowhere for them to change or anything like that. And there were no female toilets and stuff like that. So he was given a budget of like £40,000 pounds to build a toilet and toilet facilities for them, basically, because they thought that would improve the attendance at school. And so he went over there, and when it was finished, what they'd done was built basically a shed and with a hole in it. And then they had a bucket where the women still had to walk ages to go to fill it from a well and carry the whole thing back. And it had cost them like 40,000. He said it probably could have been built for about 1,000.
Yeah.
But the reason it cost so much was because they had to fly all these consultants over and they, you know, all these fancy people with their fancy lunches. When he said that really what these people in the countries need is they just need cash. Because they have the ideas themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
They have the people that can build it for them. They have their own local materials.
Yeah.
They know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
They just need cash. And then along we come and try and do some plan and mess it up. And it's the same in the UK and everything, that people blame migrants for the reason that there's no money for poor people. And it's so far from the truth. It blows my mind, because it's like, it's the mismanagement of money and the fact that everything
of money, yes.
that the government does is so expensive.
Yeah.
You know, when a council, everyone knows if you want something done well, you go and do it privately, because a private company will do the best job for you at the lowest cost.
Yeah.
Whereas if you do it to the government is basically just a bottomless pit of cash, and they have so many people that have to be involved in everything that the costs of doing anything are astronomical.
Yeah.
And obviously then you have corruption taken into that and money going places it shouldn't and all of that. But I'm like, there are not that many people arriving on boats in the UK.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what the statistics are, but we're not talking millions. We're probably not even talking hundreds of thousands. Maybe we're talking tens of thousands. Compared to the 60, 70 million people that are in the UK, it's hardly anyone. You know, we're spending hundreds of billions on military.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you could cut a little bit of that, 1 billion of that, and you'd still be able, if you cut 1 billion from the military budget, you'd be able to give 10,000 people £100,000.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's
could
a
do
lot. You give
Yeah.
100,000 people 10,000. You give
Yeah.
100,000 really, really poor people 10,000.
Yes, exactly.
And that brings me on to another book, which was Utopia for Realists, which was written by this Dutch guy, and they did
What is it called?
Utopia for Realists and how
Okay.
to get there.
Okay.
And I read that quite a few years ago, so I don't remember it so well, but one of the things that stuck out from me was they did an experiment with drug addicts there, where they realized that what drug addicts need is money.
Obviously.
They need money for drugs, of course, but they're so used to having no money that they get so good at doing things with the money that they have, and they get really, not just drug addicts but poor people in general.
Yeah.
You know, they have to
They
learn.
can manage it, yeah.
They have to learn how to hustle, basically.
Yeah.
And they gave them a certain amount of money, and obviously they had to come and request this money for certain things. But the results were amazing. A load of these people ended up stopping taking drugs. They'd managed to find themselves some sort of accommodation somewhere, so they're not on the streets. And obviously if they're not on the streets, they're not so scared. They're getting better sleep, all these type of things. They see some sort of way out, you know, and they have a little bit of cash that can help them survive for a certain amount of time, and they have a chance. And it's like, people just need cash. And obviously you can't go just handing around cash to drug addicts.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit more
obviously.
complicated than that. But it just started,
But I get your point, yeah.
it got me onto an idea I had like 4 or 5 years ago for a project that I'll do sometime in the future called A New Beginning, where I thought, if you could find certain people that really seemed like they wanted a new beginning and were willing to put the effort in, you could give them, I had the idea of a backpack. You know, you give them a backpack, and within that backpack they have some cash. They have details on where they can go for all different types of support. They have a mobile phone with some credit on it or whatever. They maybe have a Kindle with some books on it so they can pass their time. You know, things along those lines. They have some food. They have basic survival equipment. And the most important thing is they have some cash, and they have a list of places they can go to get shelter, to get food, to get support, all the charities that are out there for them. And I just thought that if you could give that to somebody, even if you give 10 of those bags to people and they cost £1,000 per bag or whatever, 9 of them, maybe it won't work. What if one of them does? That's that's 10,000 to get one person off the street and with a new life. Maybe it's naive and optimistic, I don't know. But I just thought that it would be a chance. You know, if you could give someone a chance, the right person a chance, it could work. But that's the hopeless optimist in me.
No, I'm a hopeless optimistic as well. I think it could work, but it has to. I don't know. There are just so many other things that have to work parallel to this. Raising awareness. It has to be like a global thing, a global issue. Yeah, a lot of other things you have to take care of.
Another thing I thought about recently, been thinking about for a while, is that homeless people nowadays don't get as much money because people don't carry cash. And if you don't carry cash, where are they getting their money from? You know, because people before would give them a little bit every so often, but now most people just have card. I never have cash on me. I can never give it to anyone. And I thought of a system where homeless people could have like a QR code where if people wanted to donate, they could donate it there and then they could go to some sort of institution, withdraw that money from them.
Yeah, or just create a system that doesn't produce homeless people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also like a lot of mental work, I think, because nobody's an addict because he wants to be an addict. There's always like some trauma behind it. That's why I never judge an addict. So yeah, it would be amazing to build a system that helps them in that way, emotional support, to get them out of it, get them back on their feet. I think it would be possible, but maybe that's just the hopeless optimistic in me.
Maybe. But I also thought as well, like, and I've been trying to design it for ages, and I've got a couple of different ideas, but a pathway. So if you're taking people off the street, they're going to need a job at some point.
The thing is, they need a job so they can afford a house.
Yeah.
But for a house, they need a job.
Yeah.
It's like a vicious circle.
So you need a stepping stone.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I want to create in the future would be a shelter for people, but the idea of that shelter would be they stay in that shelter for a certain amount of time and they would have to get clean and everything.
To help them re-socialize.
To help them
like the prisons in Scandinavia, right? Yeah.
Exactly. But then the end of it, and this is the part I haven't quite figured out, but give them a pathway into a certain industry or a certain job. So you can say, look, if you can pass this program, you know, it'll last however many months until you go there. You can stay here, you can eat here, you can live here. You cannot use drugs here. That's the only real.
With mental support.
With mental support would have to be there.
Yeah.
Language lessons available for people.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
And then a pathway into saying, okay, if you pass this program, you'll be given a job working here. And then once you've got this and you've had some experience working here for a year, you might be able to move on to this job and have those jobs there for these people.
Yeah, 100%.
So one thing I thought was to have like a cafe that's run through this foundation, because whatever you do, it has to generate money.
Yeah.
So, and I did some of the costings for it, and it would be really difficult unless you got the accommodation somehow given to you, you know, like you were given it by the government, let's say, the accommodation for them to stay in. And you could probably through charity fund like the mental health support and the food and everything like that. And then so long as you get the pathway then into the people when they're working, part of their salary would go to paying the accommodation, basically like paying back the free accommodation they had at the beginning, but they were earning a normal salary, so they should have enough to pay this back, you know, 100 a month or whatever it is, plus have enough money for
yourself,
a room and yourself. And you know, and then you may have these rooms for the next stage of it where it's like, okay, you've been here, now you're in this room's a little bit more expensive, but you get your own room. It's still in one of these buildings that we run, and that's not a problem, but you have your job and you have your industry. So that is one of my plans, but it's going to take A lot of money, a lot
ages
of time,
and a lot of money and a lot of nerves.
a lot of nerves, and also the right people to run it. Because
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
100%. You
to
need
run that,
trustworthy people.
you need really trustworthy people, and probably people who have experienced that thing themselves.
Exactly.
So you'd need like someone to run it who was homeless themselves.
Oh yeah, that
so
would
they'd be able to
amazing.
empathize. Because what's the point? You know, I'm not
Yeah,
going to be
he
able to
knows
be
what
there.
it's like. Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to be there, empathize. You know, I can hopefully put the money in and set it up, but you need the right people to run it.
100%. Yeah.
So what is on the agenda for Jona now?
That's what I'm asking myself these past few weeks. Actually, I'm trying to kind of find myself. I'm working in an insurance company right now. I don't want to stay there though. It's not like a forever thing. One path would be like, I don't know, podcast myself maybe, or become a teacher in Switzerland, or I don't know. There are many things that are on the table right now, but I'm also like trying to, because I overthink stuff a lot. Like my brain is running. I wish I could take like people into my brain sometimes so they would actually understand what it's like. So right now I'm actually trying to, yeah, I don't want to say I'm fighting with myself, but I'm trying to get myself to not be overheated up there and just live in the moment and let go of expectations and let go of future plans and just, you know, take life as it comes. I think that would be like very nice for me right now, because I'm in the phase again where I'm overthinking stuff. So I'm trying to chill out, but simultaneously also trying to get back on track where I want to go, because I'm on like, I don't know which path to go. So yeah,
And
trying to figure that out.
trying to find yourself, figure yourself out.
Yes.
And so you mentioned to me recently that you'd come off some medication.
Yes, my ADHD medication. I didn't take it for too long, though. It was just like a couple months. I went to see a psychiatrist. Is it called psychiatrist? Psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Psychiatrist. And I went there because I wanted him to diagnose my ADHD, which he did in the first 2 or 3 lessons I had. Yeah, and he prescribed me Medicaid, something like that. I don't know. Medicaid, I don't know what it's called. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm trying to get off of them just because I don't want to rely on anything for the rest of my life. I don't want to take like medication to cool down. I want to find my own ways, because I feel like that's a problem with medication. I don't judge anyone who takes it as a stepping stone, as an helping mechanism. Not at all. I totally get it, because it actually brings silence to your brain. But me, for myself, I decided that I want to find my own ways of coping with it, but because nowadays it just got so easy. Here's some medication and be quiet now. You don't let people actually find their own way of coping with it, and also maybe finding your superpower in it, because that's what I actually discovered. It has some negative points, but it also has powerful features sometimes, like when I'm hyper concentrated, for example, and I'm trying to learn how to dose that, how to manage that, and how to use it. So that's what I'm doing right now. It's also interesting to think about where ADHD comes from. Like, do you know anything about this? Because I feel like it can be genetics, but I feel like it can also develop during a lifetime, which would make sense, because I was alone a lot when I was a kid, because my parents were working a lot, obviously. They were migrants or refugees themselves, so I think it could maybe be connected to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is
didn't get enough attention. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's genetic, but I also think that it's just your personality.
Yeah, right.
And I think that, you know, nowadays we live in quite an odd time for humans.
That's what I was saying to Emma the other day, actually. I think the humans distance ourselves from our human nature so much that it would be actually not normal to have a normal response to that environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And
how can we not be crazy? Because we are overstimulating ourselves with everything, our surroundings, the environment we live in. It's not our nature.
yeah, like it's not our nature. You know, it's only been relatively recently that humans have been put working in factories, for example, sat still, like doing the same repetitive thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, and not really using creativity and things like that. It's unhuman.
Yes.
So I don't think that it's odd that people now are struggling to concentrate and all these type of things because we're being absolutely bombarded with stimulation.
Yeah.
Whereas in the reality, we not so long ago would have been living not in cities, in relatively peaceful places.
Exactly.
Would have been out and about, loads, active a lot of the time, doing loads of stuff. So
that's also one of the reasons why I'm like, I don't want to take medication, because I know nothing's wrong with me. It's actually my environment or the system or the surroundings, call it however, that is wrong. It's not me that is wrong.
Yeah. And also, you know, we're consuming all sorts of things that are not good for us all the time. All sorts of different weird chemicals that nobody really knows what they do to your body. You know, plastics,
all the food,
loads of processed sugar,
pesticides,
pesticides, all these things. And of course they're going to send you a bit crazy and like stimulate anything that stimulates anything that stimulates your nervous system. Tons and tons of sugar in everything.
Consumerism also.
Scrolling Instagram. And
social media.
You know, TikTok is trained, and YouTube Shorts and Instagram Shorts and all of that, Reels, whatever they're called. They are training people to have a 30-second attention span. Because it used to be a minute, the Shorts were. First of all, on YouTube, like I don't really use TikTok. Well, I don't use TikTok. There used to be 6 or 7 minute YouTubes.
Yeah,
then they shortened them to 1 minute. Then they shortened them to like 20, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And I don't watch those anymore because I'm like, I don't want to be watching 30-second videos of stuff. Unless it's a stupid little cat video or something like that, where the whole point of it is to be short and stupid. You know, if I want to watch something that I'm interested in, I want to watch a long form version of it, read long books and things, and take a month to read through a book and actually kind of have the discipline to sit there and do it. So it's no wonder we're like that. And I went through my whole ADHD journey and wrote all about that before. And at the end of it, I came out of it and I was like, this is just who I am. And I'm like, it's fine. And now, to be honest,
that's where I am right now.
And I worked on everything loads, and now I don't really notice any negative symptoms.
You know? Really?
No, I don't. I got rid of the voice in my head. I got rid of that. I started experiencing silence.
Oh, I want to experience that. How did you do that? Show me your ways, master.
Well, I went sober for 3 or 4
sober.
years.
I've been sober my whole life.
No, but I went sober from everything.
Yeah, you were crazy. You cut off sugar.
I cut sugar, caffeine,
meat,
alcohol, all animal products, drugs,
do you think
medication.
I should do that?
Maybe. Give it a go. That was really extreme. But it took me to such a baseline.
Oh, really? So that helped?
It was insane.
Do you think like it would have been different if you just, I don't know, if you would just cut off one thing of them? Like, let's say you just got off drugs. That's it. Do you think you would have the same effects?
No way. Because your brain, when it comes to our brains, when it comes to dopamine, is so clever at getting more dopamine. So, for example, let's say that you are using loads of drugs to get your dopamine. When you stop that, you will start doing something else which gives you loads of dopamine. So you might start drinking more, or you might start eating loads of sugar, or you might start masturbating loads, or whatever it is. And then when you stop the next one of those, your brain will just find something else to do.
Oh my God.
And I stopped all of those at the same time because I'd experienced that loads of times. I tried to stop smoking weed.
It's all these things that like set free dopamine.
Yeah, and so I stopped gluten as well.
Gluten?
I stopped gluten, sugar. The animal products was a separate thing, but I just did that at the same time.
Okay.
But it was gluten, caffeine, sugar, alcohol, drugs. They're the main ones. And then obviously...
I don't do drugs. I don't do alcohol. I don't smoke. Sugar, obviously. I could cut that off. And I also want to cut it off. Yeah, I could
But then
try
also
that.
scrolling as well. So I got rid of the social media apps.
I can't do that.
I know. And that's hard. And that is really hard. But I'm not saying that you have to be that extreme. I'm not saying that everyone has to do it. For me, I knew that was the only way.
Yeah. No, I have to do something, obviously, because...
And it was hell. I'm not going to lie. It was absolutely hell.
For how long was it hell, though?
2 years?
3 years?
2 years, probably. About 2 years, yeah. It took. But that was also recovering from a long time of really heavy drug use.
I remember.
So, yeah.
You don't have to tell me. I was there.
Yeah, so Jona used to live with me during those times.
During
the time
battle.
During the time of me going absolutely insane. So yeah, she saw the ending of that. But that's what I found. And then I remember when I experienced silence for the first time, it was for like 2 seconds. And I was like, whoa. And then I just carried on trying to practice that. But as I started learning to calm myself, also I still do everyday cold showers or ice bath, usually ice bath. I do sauna.
Start with that.
I do loads of exercise. I have to do all of those things every day to keep it going.
But your silence is there still?
My silence is there. And I can say, for example, I used to find it really difficult having conversations because I'd be talking in my head, second guessing what they're saying.
Yes.
Now I've learned to
listen.
Say nothing and listen. And it changed my whole life. When I look back, I'm like, I don't know. No wonder I drank so much because I don't understand how I function doing anything. When I look back on it, the difference now to how I am and how I feel to the difference back then, no wonder I was insane.
Yeah.
Because the noise that was going on in my head, I don't understand how I functioned. I don't understand how I did anything.
Yeah.
Couldn't sleep or anything. Now I sleep pretty well. I do an acupuncture mat at night every night.
Meditation helps me a lot. I should do that more often, probably.
I did that loads as well. So I did yoga nidra pretty much every day.
I do yoga as well, yeah.
For about a year or something like that. So all of those things, and you have to calm every aspect of your life at the same time is what I did, and added all these things, and it took up all of my energy for a long time, and I was insanely depressed. But then it got better. One day I started feeling a little bit better, and then I just grabbed onto that feeling and carried on rolling with that, and now I feel pretty good all the time. Obviously I go up and down like a normal person, I suppose.
Yeah, obviously, but
and
that's
generally I'm very tired and exhausted, but I'm also doing something I love doing.
Yeah, exactly.
But it got me back onto, comparing yourself to other people and thinking, why am I not able to sit and concentrate like that other person? But then I realized my personality is perfectly suited to what I do, which is running businesses.
Yeah.
It's perfectly suited for switching from loads of things backwards and forwards, having loads of things going on at the same time, and not sitting and focusing on one particular thing.
Yeah.
That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Other people, they might be really good musicians where they have to sit and practice things over and over again for ages, for a long time. Their personalities are perfectly suited to that.
Yeah.
Other people might be perfectly suited to being a teacher, or perfectly suited to working with their hands or something, and everybody is perfectly suited to something. And everybody just has to find what it is that their particular skill set is good for. Stop trying to force yourself to do things that are not for you, basically. And it's really hard. And I think that people put a lot of pressure on themselves to try and do things that is not them.
Yeah, that's true.
So now I feel much better because I'm like, well, I'm doing what I've always wanted to be doing, and I love doing it.
Exactly.
And I'm good at doing it. Whereas there's plenty of stuff that I'm not good at and I would hate doing that just wouldn't be suited. So I don't know, the whole kind of ADHD autism thing that's very kind of prevalent now.
Yeah.
Some people say they're labels and you shouldn't put them. I think it's always very useful to understand the personality traits that you have.
Exactly.
And if your personality traits give you the label of ADHD, absolutely fine.
Yeah.
You can then work with those personality traits and figure out, okay, what am I good at?
Exactly.
What am I bad at?
Exactly.
What do I like doing?
That's it.
What don't I like doing?
Yeah.
Autism's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, autistic people tend to be not enjoy social situations as much, or not be as good at social situations, but they can be really brilliant at other stuff that doesn't require that.
Exactly.
So why are they forcing themselves to try and be socialites when they don't need to
or
be?
someone, yes, why force them to be someone they're not?
Yeah, like people are good at different stuff, and some people are
Exactly.
really good at things, and some people are a bit good at things.
Exactly.
But there's
It's also
something which,
process. It's like also the process of finding yourself.
yeah, like I did all those personality things, and the whole experience of it really destabilized me for a long time, because it asks you all these different questions about yourself, and I did so much soul searching and
That's what
analyzing my
I'm
whole
kind of doing right now. I think I'm in this phase right now.
Yeah, and I went through my whole life, like all the conversations and everything, and tried to make sense of who I am.
Yeah,
and then when I found that out, realized I was an arsehole, and that was it.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so I did like 3 years of soul searching, came out at the end, and I realized I was an arsehole. So so that was worth it.
You're not an asshole, though.
No, I'm joking. I didn't realize that. Still haven't realized that. So that was it. So with your Instagram, your following, like, what are your goals on that?
I don't have any goals. That's what I was just trying to say. I'm trying to just like let the expectations go, because I had expectations, but it was driving me crazy together with my ADHD. It wasn't a good combination. So I just want to drop expectations, and I think that's the best way to go. I'm just still gonna because people think, okay, as soon as you drop expectations that you don't put any more effort in things, but that's not true. I'm still gonna put effort in things, but I'm just gonna see and wait where it takes me.
Detach from outcome.
Exactly.
And enjoy the experience.
Exactly.
But which
is hard for me, because I'm a Virgo and I want everything controlled and planned, and I want to know where life takes me and which path.
You'll never know.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to detach from the outcome and just enjoy the moment and do what my calling is. Obviously, listen to my soul, and then just.
What do you think your calling is?
This is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
With you. Yeah.
Talking,
trying to change the world.
One little step at a time.
Exactly, being a hopeless optimistic.
Hopeless optimistic, that's it.
That's how we're going to call the episode.
Jona, the hopeless optimistic. But I think that's so important. I used to be the same as that, writing myself all these goals and all this stuff, and
it was driving me crazy.
It does drive me a bit crazy. In some ways I like it, but now I realize what my calling is. I realize what I'm good at. I know all the projects that I have in my head that are going to take me my whole life. And obviously there'll probably be, I add a new project pretty much every month, but now I see the pathway towards them.
Obviously, it's good to have like a direction.
I know what my calling is. Yeah. And that's been it's what gets me out of bed every day.
Yeah,
I love getting out of bed every day.
Yeah.
I don't actually like the getting out of bed
Yeah,
part.
you don't like the process itself, but
I wake up happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Generally, I wake up happy, and I wake up excited for the day.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I know what my calling is. I just don't know how to integrate it in my life. This is what I'm trying to figure out right now, but I think I'm on the right path. I think I'm very close to getting it.
Yeah, I think so also. But I think that when you have big plans and big goals, you have to have big amounts of patience.
Oh, yes.
As well. Because it's very tempting to want everything now.
That is such a big problem for me, because this was like me the last 2 years. Why isn't it happening already? I think I'm ready. Why isn't it happening? This comes also together with my controlling mind, obviously. But it's driving me crazy, and I can't do this any longer. So I just got to cut that off.
I think
I have to be more patient.
I think that once you figure out who you are, then
it all goes hand in hand.
Everything else will just start flowing.
Yes,
and
exactly.
It's like, I think it's totally normal in your 20s. Everybody is confused.
Yes.
And that's why I feel sorry for people who get really famous really young.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Or, like they're born into a rich family and they have to run a company when they're like 20 or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, people don't have a clue who they are or what they want or anything like that. And then they get given £1 million or something, and then they just go mental.
Yes.
Because they don't even know who they are.
Yeah, I mean, I would go mental.
I would go mental. Whereas now I don't feel mental. So universe, if you need to give me £1 million,
Yeah, I'm
then,
here, I'm ready.
then I'm fine.
No, but it's true. It absolutely makes sense. And it also makes sense what you said, that if you find yourself, actually everything else will follow. This is so true.
And that process takes time.
Yeah.
That process
But I
takes
think I'm
lots of time.
almost there. It just takes a little bit more.
Well, that's good. I think we will wrap it up now because it's getting late.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Totally forgot time.
Yeah. I think we've been going for like nearly 2 hours.
Yeah, that's true.
I always ask at the end for words of wisdom. And I never tell people in advance.
Oh.
What are your words of wisdom?
What? 4 words?
No.
Oh, I thought you said 4 words. I was like, that's very specific. How am I going to figure that out?
A 4-word sentence.
My words of wisdom. I am who I am, and that's more than enough.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah.
You heard it here, everybody. You are who you are, and that's more than enough.
Yes.
Jona, this has been amazing.
Oh, yeah,
I've loved chatting to you. I told you earlier you'll be getting your Quest for Wisdom t-shirt,
Yes.
which is the highlight of the whole podcast, I think. So I'll give that to you afterwards.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming. Hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so much for having me here. It was a pleasure. I had so much fun. Time
flew.
flew.
I can't remember what I say at the end usually to sign out. I think I say farewell for now. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.